Welcome to Spoonful of Strength, a podcast for people with chronic illness and the ones who love them, where we talk all things chronic. Here's your host, Rachel and Tina. Welcome to another episode of Spoonful of Strength. I'm real excited about this episode as we are going to be bringing in Kim, who's going to talk about her lupus diagnosis. She went through quite a journey before her lupus diagnosis. One of the things I definitely want to ask her is the lupus had a hand in basically two major surgeries in a matter of 4 months, all through the COVID year. A lot of questions I have to ask her. How's your day going, Tina?
So far, so good. Although, should we talk about my dentist appointment yesterday?
You can.
Or life in the way of, all the lovely effect that the chemo has on your dentist. So I went in, I had a loose crown. Well, it was time for my cleaning anyway. So I go in and one of my crowns was loose last week. So it ended up coming out over the weekend and I just used the cement for it. But, but then Tuesday it kept popping back up. So I get in there, I'm thinking, I'll just re-cement it. No, the posts had broken. And now I need a bridge because they said that there's not enough tooth left either to put a new crown on there. So I need a bridge. And I'm like so self-conscious right now because it's my front tooth. So of course. So anyway, why does dentists have to be so darn expensive?
Oh my gosh.
Insurance doesn't cover a bridge either. So it's like $4,000 to fix this tooth. And I'm like, oh. So,
and you're kind of stuck where you don't really have a lot of options. I mean,
I know, it's like, what else am I going to do? Walk around without a front tooth, So
yeah.
So I'm getting ready to. I need to come up with some cool designs and really push some of my sales and stuff.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah. And it always happens like right after, like you get those unexpected expenses after you dropped money on like another big expense. So it's like, it just never failed. Anyway,
yeah.
But as I told my dentist yesterday, I'm like, and I ended up with like 3 cavities too. And I'm like, I take good care of my teeth, but chemo, some with going through the chemo and radiation can impact your teeth. So I'm just like, I told my dentist, well, at least I'm still here to bitch about it though. So
That's right. That's right.
So how's your week been going? How are you doing with how have you been doing with your shoulder and the recovery with that?
Yeah, I'm doing physical therapy twice a week. She just added 3 more weeks to it. So I think this is I think I'm about a month out. I'm doing better with my range of motion. The pain has gotten a lot worse this week, which she said is normal, that once you really start getting the range of motion and all, now we're trying to strengthen the hand because for some reason, whether it be potentially my MS affecting it, my left hand, I don't have a lot of strength in it. And so even putting a laptop on my lap and typing, if I have to lift up my hand, I have to help it move. It's really, really weak. And so she said that my recovery is going to be a long one, just with all my muscle issues and the fact that I had frozen shoulder for 4 years and I wasn't using it above my shoulder. It's not used to being in those positions. So this week's been a little bit more painful, but we're going to make progress. And I'm just trying not to get frustrated with, even though I'm making good strides in range of motion, I just don't have the strength. And so it feels like when I'm at home that I'm not able to do as much as I feel like I should be. And I need to take that out of my vocabulary because I am making improvements. Just, it's going to look a little different for me. So we're getting there. We are getting there. I'm doing my exercises every day and getting stronger. So
how many times a day do you have to do your exercises they gave you?
just once a day, and I don't do it on the days that I go in there because they really stretch it and work it quite a bit. So every day I don't have physical therapy, then I do my exercises at home, and so they just got rid of the easy ones that I was like, this is no big deal, I can do this all day, and gave me a bunch of hard ones now.
Yeah,
So
no, that was my last visit to my before they released me from my back. He said, okay, I want you to start doing this just for the next week, practicing lifting like with my legs, not with my back. So I had to do 3 reps of 10, so 30 of these twice a day, just basically like squatting down like I'm going to pick something up, and then standing back up and only using my legs and making sure that I'm not putting any weight. Oh my gosh, let me tell you, my thighs and butt muscles where I was like, now I realize I really need to not skip leg day. Not that, I mean, I skip every day. So I mean, I skip leg day, I skip arm day, I skip, cardio day. Like I don't go out and work out. But now I'm like, okay, I definitely really need to start working on this leg strength. But I was just so sore.
I think Kim is here. So let's get this conversation started and welcome Kim in. Welcome to the podcast, Kim. We're real excited to talk with you about your experience with lupus. But first, can you tell us maybe a little bit about yourself? Introduce yourself to the listeners.
Sure. My name is Kimberly Annette Bodie. I was born in Dayton, Ohio at Air Force Base. My father was in the Air Force. We moved to England till I was about 2. Don't remember anything. My mom and I came back. I was 2.5, and we've been living in the great state of Maryland ever since. I'm 47. I'm an administrative assistant for the occupational therapy programs at Trinity Washington University in Washington, D.C. And I am currently volunteering with the Lupus Foundation of America, being a support group leader. I'm an ambassador and an advocate.
Great. You're from, Tina's from Maryland. What part are you from?
I'm in Lanham, Prince George's County.
Oh, okay. We're up in Anne Arundel County in Pasadena.
Oh, I know what that is. Okay.
Yeah. Good. If I'm not mistaken, a lot of your symptoms and everything started in 2020. Were you fairly healthy before that time period?
I was fairly healthy. I was on a blood pressure pill because both sides of my family history, blood pressure is an issue. I had known about a fibroid that I had, but they told me that it was small and it wouldn't impact me too much and to not worry about it. So in 2020, I was running around, scared about COVID because I had knew some of my friends and even my cousin in California who had came down with it before they really figured it out. But I had went to my physical for the year and I said, hey, it's 2020. I want to be clear on everything. So she said, hey, we need to work on this blood pressure, lose some weight. You'll be fine. That was the first week of January. That weekend, my back started hurting. I had reached under the cabinet, to get some cleaning supplies, and I couldn't stand up straight without pain. So I said, this has happened before. When I found out about the fibroid, perhaps it's getting bigger. I kept going because I said, it's probably that just take some more, ibuprofen. But it progressively got worse. I was scheduled for a mammogram, so I went in for that. Went in for the mammogram, and they said that my breast looked completely different from last year and that I needed a 3D scan. But that person wasn't in because I had went on a weekend. And I told them about the pain I was having. They said, oh, we think you should go to the emergency room. Went to the emergency room. They did a lot of testing and said that I had low potassium. So I left, got that prescription, did a follow-up appointment with my doctor. And she said, some things do look strange. Your breasts aren't looking right. They had begun to turn black, and it felt like hardness all around them, like if a tampon was like just standing up straight. I said, yeah, something's wrong. So she sent me to a breast specialist. Went to the breast specialist. She said, it's not cancer. I don't think this has anything to do with my area of expertise, but you should go to a OB/GYN specialist. Went to them, did that testing. Come to find out, my fibroid was 5 pounds, had calcified, died, attached to my uterus. My body thought I was 11 weeks pregnant. My breasts were trying to lactate. So that's why all the issues were happening. So they said, hey, you need to have surgery. The surgeon they referred me to was on vacation for a month. So trying to get an appointment, you have to meet the doctor, go into consultation, then get the surgery. I was still going into work because I was afraid I was going to lose my job because I couldn't tell them anything. I don't know what's going on either. I kept going in. I would go in early and leave late so nobody would see me walking slow. But I was then told, stay home, work from home until you figure this out because, I take public transportation, bus, metro, not good. So I made an appointment with a doctor, but that was to be in 2 weeks. I was in extreme pain. I came home one day from church and I just told my mom, I can't take this pain anymore. God, please just take me home because I can't do this anymore. My mom said, no, don't get off the phone. We rushed to a different hospital because since the other hospital said I just had potassium and all that was wrong, I'm not going back to that one. Went to a different hospital. They admitted me immediately and they started to get everything lined up. So I had to end up having a hysterectomy because the fibroid was leaning on my bladder, which impacted my spine. That's why I was having issues walking. In that part, I then had to get a double mastectomy because my breasts were trying to lactate, but that's when they shut the world down. So I got kicked out of the hospital immediately after the hysterectomy. I got home 2 days before the world shut down. They said since the double mastectomy was on the outside of my body, it wasn't as important. So I didn't have that surgery to July. So I was in pain from January to July. Then when I came out of that double mastectomy surgery, my fingers started turning blue. My mom said, no, I'm not taking her home. She didn't come here with that issue. I'm not taking her back home. So they did that testing and they came up with Raynaud's syndrome. So that's when your blood vessels constrict in your feet and your hands. So that was the first diagnosis of an autoimmune disease. So I did my research on that, was trying to figure that out because I hadn't heard about that at all. The infectious disease doctor at the hospital said, well, we know it's not COVID because she's been tested daily from being here. Yeah. But her blood work is still wrong. Is something wrong? A rheumatologist was not on staff at the hospital, so they referred me to a rheumatologist. Went to the rheumatologist. They ran the blood work panels. At first, they thought it was connective tissue disease, but it came out in a second layer of testing that it was discoid lupus. With discoid lupus, it affects your skin basically. So I began to have a butterfly rash across my face. So think of a butterfly sitting on your nose and the wings come across your face and the antenna in the top and the feet at the bottom. I get dryness. It's like dandruff on my face. My scalp was impacted. My hair began to fall out. Nails becoming brittle. My body just felt like it was rejecting anything I was trying to do. So 2020 for me was very hard. It was a harsh health decline, but I always kept trying to smile to myself to say I didn't get COVID.
Look on the bright side.
Yes.
Yeah. And that had to be hard. Like initially, like you said, the world has not shut down, but eventually, as you were going through this, you were having to do a lot of this all on your own.
Yes, so when I got home from the hospital from the surgery, I'm an only child. So my mom did not leave me from the time I was in the hospital. I was in the hospital for 2 weeks before the surgery. She was in the chair, sleep right beside me. So she moved in with me for a year and a half because of COVID. She didn't want to keep coming back in and out with different germs or whatever because we didn't know everything that was happening. So I have a 1-bedroom apartment. She slept on the couch for a year and a half. So I am very thankful and blessed to have an awesome mom. She had just retired 3 years before that. So she said she was prepared for this. We didn't know, but she said that the Lord had prepared us for this journey. So,
yeah. So when did you first find out about the fibroid? Like how long of a time where it went from very small, nothing to worry about, to 5 pounds? What time span was that?
it was about 10 years. In my mid-30s,
Okay.
I had the same issue. I couldn't stand up, and they thought it was a disc issue in my spine. They thought it was bulging. But when I went in to get the MRI, they could see the top of the fibroid in the scan. And they just said, oh, it's small. It's okay. You don't need to do anything. And come to find out, I should have been getting tested yearly to see the size and the shape and the growth. And that did not happen.
Now, with the double mastectomy and everything getting to that point of needing such traumatic, like the surgeries and everything, did they ever indicate that it might have been you may not have had to go through all of that if they had figured everything out earlier?
We didn't learn all of that until 2021. I began to learn about advocacy because when I was in the hospital, they initially said that I was too obese to have the surgery and that they were going to send me home and bring me back in for the surgery. And I just began to pray and said, I don't think I'm going to make it back. I was in that much pain. I'm like, after everything you found, what do you mean I can't have the surgery? So at that time, I got the advocacy in the hospital and they fought for me and they were able to allow me to have the surgery and to continue on. As they began to ask me questions to start my history, that's when I learned that these different testings should have been done. Because if I had the fibroid testing every year, we would have caught it before it attached to my uterus, causing a hysterectomy. The major concern was that I was 40. At that time, I was 43. I didn't have any kids. So they didn't want to, quote unquote, remove my womanhood. But what I explained to them was that I didn't plan to have any. I have 4 godchildren, so I was good. The pain that I was in, we're going to need to remove that. So moving into the double mastectomy, they were still concerned because they said, a woman, the doctors felt a woman lives through her breast. And I told them, if I'm not married, not dating right now, I don't think the breasts did their job, so you can have them. So they removed those as well. And as I was speaking with that breast doctor, she began to ask me questions that my primary care should have asked. So we learned that my primary care wasn't doing the formal follow-ups with me, preventative follow-ups. She was more reactive than proactive. So I should have been tested with the autoimmune issues as well because I showed symptoms of an autoimmune disease and it was never noted in my file at all. I don't like the sun at all. I break out a lot. That's part of the photosynthesis with lupus. I kept having hair issues with my hair falling out in clumps. I also or having digestive issues, which are normally related with autoimmune issues. And I slept a lot, which is the fatigue with lupus. So if it was some way to have a record of all of that in one place, and that doctor said, okay, we need to move forward with a rheumatologist, it would have negated a lot of the issues that happened in 2020. And that's when I learned about advocacy, to ask questions, to follow up, to ask them to tell me in the terms that I can understand, and to do my own research. Because if I knew I needed to get tested every year, I would have advocated and said, hey, I need to get this test. I had the regular physical, pap smear, things of that nature, but I needed the actual MRI of my lower region so they could see the growth of the fibroid, because mine was on the inside and it attached on the inside. If it had attached on the outside, then I would have been able to keep my uterus and things of that nature. So.
Yeah. It's amazing that, because I've dealt with autoimmune disease since 2018. It's true that you don't know you have to do XYZ. And I've realized in the last couple years that I need to keep track of every test result, that I have to, you have to do so much as far as knowing what tests you need, making sure they're getting scheduled, and researching, if you've got blood work that's off or whatever it might be, researching and doing all that homework. And you're exactly right that people just they just figure that the doctor's going to put in, this needs to be done, and they're going to take care of it and all of that. And it's getting to the point now where we really do have to be our own doctors, especially once you start branching out into primary care and rheumatology and neurology or whatever it is. It's gotten to be almost a side job to just make sure that you're receiving the care and the testing and all of that you need. A couple years ago, my husband wanted to give me an MS t-shirt for my birthday. All he could find, though, were brightly colored t-shirts with big graphics, like a smiley face given 2 middle fingers, and words like F U MS. Isn't there an option for a simple, stylish t-shirt that spreads awareness with kindness? That's when I created Spoonful of Strength, shirts that are inspirational, motivational, and stylish. You can find us on Etsy, Instagram, and Facebook at Spoonful of Strength. That's Spoonful with 2 L's. Enter code podcast for 20% off anything in the shop. Did they do a full hysterectomy with you, or did they leave the ovaries in?
They left the ovaries.
Okay.
They didn't want me to go into menopause because of the stress that was already on my body, and they were still trying to figure out what was going on, because I had a team of 12 doctors and they couldn't even come up with one singular thing that was wrong with me. So they said, don't do that, because then that'll be something extra. The issue they had with me at the time, I wasn't diagnosed with lupus yet. So the infectious disease doctor just kept saying it's something wrong with her blood, because of course they tried to keep putting me in the COVID category. And she kept saying, there is something wrong with this patient's blood, but rheumatology was not in that hospital. So that person wasn't there to consult them and run the proper testing. And I learned that as well, that even though they draw your blood and they run the test for certain things, a separate panel has to be run for autoimmune. It's not an all-inclusive blood test. So a lot of people think, oh, I got my blood drawn for my physical. They checked everything. No, they did cholesterol, things of that nature. My rheumatology blood labs is something totally different. And if they're not specializing in that area, it doesn't really get treated or diagnosed, because since I came through emergency room protocol, that doctor knows a little bit about everything, but they're not going to specify. They're going to work on whatever's hurting you right now. Why are you crying? Why are you in pain? They fix that. And then you get pushed over to whatever they told you to go to follow up. So I learned that as well. I thought, I'm coming to a hospital, I'm in pain, you're supposed to do everything to make sure I feel better, but that's not the case.
Yeah.
They treat
Yeah.
the immediate issue. And even with the one thing that I had noticed with my oncologist when I was going through everything is that they also tend to just look at, they do a brief glance at your blood work numbers sometimes, where it's like, okay, everything, nothing's being flagged as high or low or out of the ordinary. But I, over the years, learned I have to track and be like, okay, yes, it's still within the normal range, but my iron is getting super duper duper low. It's like borderline being too low. Can we go ahead and do an iron infusion? Where if it was just up to them, they would have been like, oh, yep, everything looks fine. So you definitely, again, have to be your own advocate and track those things and
Yes.
kind of bring those things to their attention.
And another issue I ran into, since a lot of the things you couldn't see from the outside, it's like I felt invisible at times because they're looking at me and they're seeing that I'm in pain. I can barely stand up. But when they run those general tests, nothing's coming back. So it was if I was lying, because they couldn't see anything when they were running the test. It's like, well, you're fine. My blood pressure kept being sky high. It had got up to about 200 over 100. So they kept throwing blood pressure medicine at me, but not trying to figure out why my body was doing that. But it was because the fibroid. It was because it's trying to produce a comforting atmosphere for a baby, but there's not a baby. So then they went right from my health to my mental health. So then they're like, she's going to go crazy because she doesn't have her womanhood. She's not going to be a woman anymore. So keep hearing negative things from both sides doesn't help either. So I just kept saying, okay, I'm a single woman. I'm strong enough. I can do this. I'm going to just keep fighting for myself. God still has me here. So it has to be a reason I'm supposed to do something. But trying to be strong is hard when there's negativity from the medical profession coming at you. So I just had a lot of people praying for me. Of course, like I said, I had my mom by my side, but this was all brand new to us. We were learning things ourselves. And when you go on the internet, at times there's so many different articles and different ways to cure and go about getting better that it's hard to navigate what is actually true. But I was thankful that my job, through our insurance, they gave me a life coach that I could talk to, because the support systems that they tried to put me in wasn't what I needed. They put me in a cancer group because I had the double mastectomy. I'm like, I get it. Cancer patients go through way more than I went through, but it's not affecting what I had. I had granuloma mastitis. You usually get mastitis with breastfeeding, but mine was the top level granuloma. So they kept saying, everything you have is rare. You're a unicorn. We don't know what to do. Try this, try that. So they kept sticking me in these support groups, and I'm like, I can't relate. I didn't have radiation. I didn't get the breast implants, because I said if I didn't have the uterus, what did I need the breast for anymore? You can have those too. It's like they kept saying that I had already, jumped off the edge, because they said that my answers were not what they were used to. Because I said, well, I'm just being honest. What do I need this stuff for? I'm still a woman, but they kept saying, you need this, you need the surgery, you need to get the flaps, you need to get this. And I kept saying no. And I kept standing out every time I came into appointments. They kept saying, she's an interesting patient. Watch the way you speak to her, because she has a different point of view, like I was an alien or something. So I just really had to learn how to stand up for myself. I had went into a slight depression because it was just so much happening and being in so much pain and not knowing why. and they keep giving you medicine that doesn't work. I came out of the hospital, I was on 20 pills and I'm still in pain. Why? I don't get it. So just learning how to really learn myself and my symptoms. With learning more about lupus, every person is different because depending on your comorbidities, it's going to increase whatever's already going on. So with the high blood pressure, that got worse. I was already anemic. Now I'm normocystic anemia. So it's like everything stepped up. I had chronic fatigue before, but now I could barely get out my chair and go outside. I could barely do the public transportation because I don't drive at all. So it seemed like everything was times 1,000. But when you go in with lupus, you can't see it. It's an invisible disease. So a lot of people still see me today. I generally have a mask on when I'm outside, but when I take my mask off and people see me, they say, "You don't look sick." I'm like, it's like a backhanded comment because if you looked at my blood work, you would know how serious this is. But I just, wake up every morning, the Lord wakes me up. I say, okay, what's my mission for today? Somebody needs to hear my story. Someone needs encouragement. Someone needs to know that they can still fight because, we have the strength inside of us for a reason to keep moving forward. But it takes a lot of strength within yourself. You have to get to know you. I kept trying to protect everybody and not explain everything that was happening because I didn't want them to be upset. I didn't want them to pity me. I like to give. I do everything. I'm volunteer this, volunteer that, volunteer this. But when it had time for me to sit there and receive it, I didn't understand it. So I rejected that as well. Like, don't do that. Like during the COVID, people were leaving groceries outside of my apartment door. I'm like, oh, I have to write a list so I can pay everybody back. And they're like, all the Bible studies you had in your house, you were pouring into us. This is our opportunity to give back to you. Let us give back to you. So that was hard as well. That was definitely the Lord stretching me because I said, I could do this by myself. I'm okay. So the strength you find as a person, as a woman, is a very challenging journey. It's like I said, before that, all I had was, high blood pressure. I was obese. I wasn't morbidly obese, but according to, the programming, I was obese. I was very active. I was doing Zumba, line dancing, go-go fitness. And you do Zumba with go-go music, which is a form of music here in the DC area. And I was always out. For me not to drive, I was out every day. I was doing something. So to go,
you sound fun.
Yeah, I went from a social butterfly to a housefly because the decline was so great. I didn't know what to do, and COVID did not help because then I was just sitting in my recliner. So to get back into the world is different. Like even today, I still wear my mask because my immune system is compromised. So now I'm still getting picked out.
Right. And then I also feel like now pre-COVID, going out wearing a mask, people just assume that you're immunocompromised and and you're keeping yourself safe. Now you go out in a mask, and I feel like there's just so many people that like to be in that judgmental mindset of going, oh look, she's just afraid of COVID. Like they automatically think that we're fraidy cats, or we're afraid of COVID. We need to get over needing a mask, and it's like masks were a thing before COVID hit.
Exactly.
It just wasn't as many people out there, and the people that are out there wearing them still have the valid reason for doing it.
You had 2 major surgeries in a 4-month period. I've had a hysterectomy. It is not fun. It takes your body forever to just recoup from like a major surgery like that. So did you feel like when you had your mastectomy, just 4 months after your hysterectomy, did you feel like your body was like physically ready to undergo another surgery, or were you more like, let's just get them done and then I can take time after and try and recoup?
At that time, I was just ready to get it done. Being in that much pain and keep hearing, I don't know what's wrong with you. Let's go to another doctor. Let's do another test. Well, you're not reacting to this medicine. Well, it's like every time something changed in my conditions, I became a greater case study for them because they had no idea what was going on with my body. But I knew at the end of the day, if these parts of my body were at least removed, at least the initial pain would be gone. And then we could delve deeper into why it happened. Because at this point, we can't go back. We just gonna have to move forward. And that was the doctor's concern because I wanted the mastectomy at the same time as the hysterectomy, but they thought that the breasts would correct themselves with the uterus gone, but it got worse. So that's when they wanted to schedule it for April, but the hospitals had shut down all that type of surgery. So I had to wait. And at that time, I had a lesion on my breast that a nurse had to keep coming weekly to check and to dress me. So I had that and them coming for the hysterectomy dressing. So I had a nurse coming at least 2 times a week to check on me. And my mom was there, of course, but that isn't her area of expertise. So I was healing slow. So that should have been another, red flag that there's something else wrong. And that, as we found out later, was the lupus. You tend to heal slower than others. So I then had to have the nurse come to me at my home. And then I had to start going back in during the COVID to go to the outpatient clinic to get even higher forms of the dressing to be able to have my midsection close up because it was not closing at all. So having that big of an open wound every day was draining and tiring, and all of the issues that stem from that because I could not take a shower. You can't take a shower till you get that next appointment that says, okay, you're cleared. So I wasn't feeling my best, just, as a person, I washed up the best that I could, but I was taking showers twice a day before that. So I just didn't feel my best and to go in for them to say, still not working. It just kept, weighing on me and heavy. So the stress became an issue. Another red flag, I kept breaking out in my face. I kept breaking out in my hands. I started getting the circle lesions on my back and my legs, and they would sit up about 1 inch high, and they would be red, kind of like a ringworm. And I would be scratching my skin, trying to pull my skin off. That was the Discoid lupus, but they didn't know what was happening. All they knew is you came in here to get dressed for your mastectomy surgery. We don't know about that. So once I came in, finished the hysterectomy dressing, going into the mastectomy, going back in for that to get the tubings checked to make sure I was flushing out right, then that backed up because my skin started to break out. That was the lupus. They thought it was the materials they were using. So that's what it goes back to advocacy because they only know what they know. But at times, they want to exhaust all the possibilities in their field instead of saying, hey, I think I need to have a consultation with someone else to address some of these issues. But by the time you go through all these different medications, go through all the different dressings, you break out, you have other issues coming, then you've left that situation with something else being wrong with you, and you still haven't figured out the original issue of what was wrong. So running into that caused a lot of stress as well, and that also halted my healing as well. So I didn't get fully healed from both surgeries until 2021. And then I was released to be able to do physical therapy. So I had a lot of lymphatic issues in my body because of the surgeries being that close. So I had to go in to get physical therapy for about 6 months.
Have they made a connection, or is there a connection in your research with the lupus to the fibroid and the needing the mastectomy and the hysterectomy? Do they feel that the underlying lupus is what brought that all about?
So now they are looking into it. At first, it was two separate issues that have anything to do with each other. But that infectious disease doctor made a great impact on me. She said, I wonder if you had lupus the whole time and it exacerbated the fibroid when it happened, because we have a history of fibroids in my family on both sides, but my mom had a hysterectomy and my grandmother, her grandmother. So I knew that was coming, but did the fibroid wake up the lupus? So they couldn't figure out what was happening. And since my primary care at the time didn't have proper records of things I was complaining about, because my periods were crazy, the longest 7 days of my life, very painful, but they just kept stepping up the pain medicine. It wasn't addressed to look into why is it this much bleeding? Why are you in this much pain? Why do you have to take off from work? Why are you having so much pain in your back? It wasn't addressed. So it's like kind of trying to rewrite history to have a log of what's happening. And as we go through it and I talk with my new group of doctors and I say, oh yes, that was happening at this time you're seeing a record of perhaps I probably had lupus in my teens and nobody recognized it, because a lot of times, they'll say, oh, kids are lazy. That's why she's sleeping so much. When I was in college, I had a depressive moment in college when I didn't want to come outside. I just wanted to sit in my room. I didn't want to do anything. That type of depression is linked to lupus. When I came home from college and began to work, I kept having issues with arthritis type of issues with my hands that would cramp up, things of that nature. But the symptoms were so small and a doctor can just look and say, oh, it's this, and keep going. If it was a full record of look at all of this, because a lot of my friends and family call me a vampire because I do not like the sun at all. I don't want to be in it, a part of it. But when you link all of it together, those are the signs of lupus. But the true impact of it did not happen until the fibroid issue. So they don't know which caused which, but with the Lupus Foundation of America, they have a research division. And when I inputted my information, it flagged fibroids. So hopefully we'll be able to do some clinical research and see if there's some sort of connection with that. And because it's all a part of the same area with digestion and different reproductive organs, to see if there's something going on that they're missing.
Mm-hmm. Now, skipping to the present time, like what does your daily life look like with lupus? What are the things that you encounter symptom-wise, like on a day-to-day basis? Like, how are you doing now?
So now technically I'm clinically stable with lupus. And so now all the other issues that I've been having, they generally say, oh, it's lupus. Well, now that I'm clinically stable in my blood work and there's still other issues, then there's other stuff wrong with me. So I keep having numbing in my feet. I felt like little bugs were crawling up and down my leg. So at first they thought that was restless leg syndrome. I got tested, nerve testing in my legs, and I have polyneuropathy. So with that, my feet will go numb and I can't walk. but I don't have it to the point that my feet are swollen and my ankles, and my calf muscles aren't swollen. So we can put that back in the lupus bucket. That is lupus. Currently, I have to get a colonoscopy because I'm a woman of a certain age. But
those are fun.
oh yeah, I'm looking so much forward to it. But I don't eat as well as I'm supposed to. They say that 3 meals and 2 snacks. I barely get 1 meal in, and I need to have more because of the medication that I'm on. But I'm not hungry. I'm not thirsty. I have to force myself to drink, force myself to eat. If I smell something, I'm like, oh, hey, I think I might need to get something to eat. But taking medication twice a day, you need more food than that. So there's trying to figure out what is happening. So I had been on prednisone since 2020, which is a steroid. So they took me off of that in December. So they said, oh, in probably 6 months to a year, the residual effects of that will leave. I just got taken off one of my blood pressure medicines. I'm on 3. So we're trying to see within the 6-week time span, will that make a difference? When I do the colonoscopy, I'm also getting an endoscopy to see what is going on with my digestive system because nobody knows. So I'm still battling nobody knows issues. Getting more doctors. I have to get an extra eye exam yearly because with the hydrochloroquine that I'm on, it can affect your peripheral vision. So I have to get a lupus panel eye test every year. But that's interesting. But generally, when I wake up, I feel like a train ran over me, or I felt like I've had the flu for 3 days. I feel wiped out. So I literally have to sit there, some breathing, meditation, things I've learned through my counselor, and just say, okay, you can do this, get up. I'll get up. It takes me longer to get ready because everything for me is a true chore. So when I saw the name of your Instagram or your podcast, The Spoonful of Strength, I just smiled immediately because with lupus, we say the spoon theory. People, wake up with 10 spoons. I'm 5 spoons in before I even leave the house. Like I literally brush my teeth, wash my face, take a shower. I have to sit down and take a nap, at least a 15-minute power nap, so I can be able to move on in my day. And then as the day progresses, trying to force myself to drink water is hard because just the 16-ounce bottle is like death to me. But I just try to keep sipping, and try to eat as much as possible because I said through the medicine that I'm on, I need to have food. But if I go out, like for example, I'm an administrative assistant. We just had orientation for the new students. I worked a 9-hour day yesterday. And then if you take in the hour that it takes me to get there, translates as 10 hours. When I came home last night, I was unable to do anything. I literally, it's like my body shuts down. It's like it puts a sign up and says closed for the day. So when I first started going back into work in 2022, I kept running into the issues of coming home from work and not waking up. I would get home about 7 o'clock at night. I wasn't waking up till about 11:30 at night when my mom was calling to check to make sure I was taking my medicine. So my body wasn't having the time to regenerate to get back up to go back into work. So then I had to get a doctor's note to be able to telework more because my body needs to have time to regenerate. I have sleep issues as well, so I have to have sleep tests done. They kept blaming it on lupus, but apparently something else. So my body is not generating enough energy because if I can't get that restorative sleep, I'm already in the negative the next day. So generally every day I am exhausted, but I just keep trying to go. I try to at least get up and be active because with teleworking, sometimes you're just in one spot. So I try to get out and walk. My lupus friends, we do the different challenges of walking. So I try to get out and walk around in my apartment complex to just get moving, because that would help with the neuropathy and the arthritis issues as well. And plus with the blood pressure, getting outside. But once again, I don't enjoy the sun.
You don't like.
So I really don't like it, but I'm learning more about the sunscreen and getting all the different sunglasses that I see that I like, I buy. So I know I have to open my blinds in my apartment because I will sit in the dark. Like, I won't turn the light on. I will sit in the dark all day. The TV is light to me. I mean, that's enough light for me, but that's not the right way. I can't have that fluorescent light. I have a bay window in my office, so that light shines in enough for me, but I can't have the light on me for a longer period of time because I will have migraines and then I'll start breaking out.
Yeah. We just got to make it so that TV gives you vitamin D and we'd be all set, right? Like the sun does.
Yeah, because I had that issue last year. I was on vitamin D3 for 6 months because my levels were off. And when they started asking more questions, that's when they realized, wait a minute, you're in the dark all day. Now, see, when my mom was with me a year and a half, she opened the blinds every day. When she went back home, I didn't open the blinds because I didn't want the blind.
Yeah, that's a tough. That's tough when it's something that's so hot, that's so important, that getting that natural vitamin D is so important, but at the same time it affects your lupus. So it's like finding that balance of, okay, how do I manage both?
Did you know Spoonful of Strength is not just a podcast? We have an Instagram page called Spoonful of Strength where you can see clips of our upcoming episodes, learn about different illnesses, and we share other people's stories. We also have an Etsy shop where you can shop for clothing such as t-shirts and sweatshirts and hoodies. You can find candles and mugs and tumblers and blankets. You can find it all. We support all chronic illnesses, and the great thing is, if you find a t-shirt in our shop for multiple sclerosis, we can change that for lupus or Ehlers-Danlos or any other illness that you need. Everything is customizable in our shop. Use the code podcast for 20% off your entire order. Talk with us a little bit. You talked about working with the Lupus Foundation of America. So you're teaming up with them. I saw on your Instagram that you have a walk coming up in about a month. So talk to us about how you got started with that, and then the walk, in case anybody's in the DC area that would want to do the walk, or we'll actually post that in the description of the podcast. So if people want to donate, or if they want to try and find a walk near them or whatever, that they'll know about that.
So everyone always says your phone is listening. So I kept getting lupus advertisements on my Facebook. I'm like, how do they know? Because I used to be on Facebook every day because I was keeping that as accountability for me to keep moving. So I'm like, hey guys, this is what I did today. But when I got sick, I didn't want to say anything to anybody. I was barely getting up every day. So a lot of people were like, you were my motivation. What happened? What's going on? I'm like, give me some time. I got to get myself together. So when I started going back on Facebook, I kept saying Lupus Foundation. So I liked their page and more advertisements began to show up. So in 2022, they had a virtual walk. And I was like, how do you do a virtual walk? And they're like, well, wherever you are, go out and walk. Once again, I don't want to be outside. But my mom and my Aunt Sheila said, let's go walk in the neighborhood park. We're going to do it together. You're not going to be outside that long. Come on, we can do this. This is going to get you out. This is going to get you aware. Let's do that. So I said, okay, this is going to be a new beginning for me. So we did that walk, and I was like, hey, that was interesting. Well, when I did the walk, that gets you more involved. They'll send you like newsletters and things of that nature. So the next year it was back in person. So I said, well, hey, I think I would like to try, but I don't know. Once again, at that time, I was still like, I don't want to be around a whole lot of people, and it's sun outside. So I said, well, if these people are going out there whose conditions are way worse than mine, I believe I can go out. So they asked me to be a team captain. And nope, that's not going to work. One thing about me, I say no to everything. And no, I don't want to do that. And he was like, oh, it's linked to Facebook. It'll be on your Facebook page. I said, oh, well, that's great. I linked it and kept going. And it had little incentives. Like, if you raise this much money, you'll get this. If you raise this much money, I was like, hey, whatever. I just want the t-shirt. So you had to get $100 to get a t-shirt. I said, that's all I need. I just like a t-shirt. So I got that. And then more people saw that I was back on social media. And they're like, hey, what happened to you? And I started sharing my story. I was scared because I didn't want people to pity me. But then I knew there were people that didn't know, because people in my family didn't know what lupus is. People in my community, my church, my line dancing, my workout. They're like, what is that? So I said, I think I was supposed to stand up and say something. In the social media presence that I had about 1,000 people that followed me in the area. They were learning about lupus because of me. So I said, hey, I think I might have something's going on. So I started fundraising that June of 2023. And by August, I had got up to $5,000. How did that happen? Wow. Social media. I didn't do anything. It was just social media. So I said, well, I don't understand what's happening. Thank you, God. It's more awareness. And then they asked me to cut the ribbon during the walk. We were on the ellipse in DC across from the monument. And I cut the ribbon. I got interviewed with Channel 7's weather lady, Veronica. And she had did a little snippet on me. A lot of people were coming up and asking me about my journey and my walk. A church member had made a purple tutu for me. So I had stuck out a lot. About 50 people came out and walked with me between my line dancing, family, my church family, friends of that nature came out and walked with me. After that, I was asked to speak on a panel in Washington, D.C. We were at Howard University Hospital for a lupus informative type of session. I was on that warrior panel, and I was, once again, no, I don't want to do it. But I just kept thinking of it kind of a negative way. I know I have the lowest form of lupus. The next level is nephritis, where it affects your kidneys. So like Tony Braxton, Nick Cannon, Selena Gomez, they have nephritis. And then the step up is SLE, when it attacks 2 or more of your organs. So I kept saying, I didn't want to say anything. I just have the skin version. No one wants to hear me. And I keep talking about it. People, some are wheelchair bound, some are getting the type of infusions that you need to get your symptoms down. So I didn't want to share. But with me, quote unquote, being a unicorn, everything that happened to me is impactful and powerful, and people who need to hear my story. And I was nominated to be an ambassador for the Lupus Foundation of America. And of course, I said no. Well, I filled out the application, and then I became an ambassador. Becoming an ambassador, then the advocacy part of Lupus Foundation said, well, would you like to be an advocate? No, I'm an advocate as well. So this year I've done health fairs. We did an advocacy day on the Hill in May. We turned the Hill purple. We went and spoke with our representatives. We took a picture by the Capitol talking about the different issues that we are involved in and want to get help with, because when we're going into these appointments, as I stated earlier, they're saying, well, take this medicine, take this medicine, take this medicine. It's like a step down effect. No, this medicine is out now and it's going to help me. I need that. But by the time you step down and go through all those trials and tribulations as everything's happening, you're having more expensive things happening to you and more doctors added to the list. If you would have gave me that first medicine, we wouldn't be here right now. So we're working with that act with Congress and also with the insurance, because as you're going through this, the different things they're paying for, by the time you go through all these up and downs, you don't have any more money left to get to where you need to get to, that doctor you need to see. So we were advocating that as well. We did World Lupus Day, which is May 10th every year. I got the Council of Prince George's County to write a proclamation for me. So hopefully next year we'll do something bigger and better with that. May is Lupus Awareness Month. We also did different interviews with TV stations and radio stations. I was featured on Praise 103 on Radio 1 to share my story as well. So being an ambassador has changed my life, because I'm social, but I'm not. It's like I like to go out, but not a whole lot of people. But the type of opportunities I've been given, I'm seeing, oh, okay, because even though I feel sometimes that I'm not, worthy of being able to share my story, when I share my story, people are impacted in so many different ways, because I can address women on different levels because of the fibroids, the hysterectomy, the mastectomy, and the lupus, and then the journey in itself. You might not have had any of that, but you've had a health decline journey that I can relate to and I can speak to. And you might not be a person that wants to speak out, or someone that you think you're complaining, or you've had so much gaslighting that you don't want to even say anything. And with me standing up and sharing my story, a lot of people are encouraged, and they're telling me that, hey, you're a warrior, you should walk in Wonder Woman clothes. And, just being able to share that I'm still here and that I'm not embarrassed or ashamed to say that I'm in counseling, because, mental health stigma on top of the invisible disease is hard. And a lot of people don't want to address that. And then also, when you look into the race side, being a Black woman, a lot of times we're pushed off because they're like, oh, you're strong enough to handle it. And that's not the case for everybody and everyone. So with the Lupus Foundation of America, I try to do as much as I can. So I just finished the training for being a support group leader. We have one for Maryland as a whole, but we're trying to break it into, like different counties and things of that nature, so we can reach everyone on every level, because the age gap for lupus is 15 to 44. So I had just made the gap. So basically it's the childbearing years. So you have to think of that big of a gap. Who is advocating to the 15-year-olds, to the 20s, to the 30s, 40s, and 50s? And what I'm learning as I'm speaking with others, that I can relate on all those levels, so that I need to step up and be able to speak, because some people are not willing to speak because they're so hurt and they're still going through so many things. So with the Lupus Foundation of America, I'm able to be in different arenas. I did a lunch and learn at a corporation. So what they do there is, on your lunch break, they provided lunch and we spoke for their lunch break, and they were able to ask us questions. During the health fair, you never know who you're going to meet at a health fair. And then I started trying to build up my social media with Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, X, whatever it's called these days, TikTok. I'm working on my YouTube channel. So September 28th is the DC Walk to End Lupus Now. I will be a part of all the 3 walks for this area because I'm an ambassador. So the Baltimore walk is September 21st. So I'll be there volunteering. September 28th is the walk that I represent for the foundation. So I'll be active in all arenas. And then October 12th is the one for Richmond, Virginia, and I will be volunteering there as well. So if anybody are in those areas, I would love to see you. Love to connect and walk with me. We walk a mile. Lupus, we can barely get through the mile. So it's only a mile. That's all we can do.
We will definitely put all of those on the podcast description. And I tell you what, you are making a difference. I have looked at your Instagram page and it's just beautiful. I love the purple tutu. I know it's amazing. And we really appreciate you coming on because we haven't had anybody reach out to talk about lupus. And it's one of those diseases I feel like that you know about it, but you don't really know about it. You know, you see celebrities and people who say, you know, I have lupus. So, you know, most people have heard of it, but they really don't know. And so having you come on today to be able to give us a little insight as to what you've been through, all that you've been through. And it sounds like, you know, you're just a woman of faith that's just getting through this with grit and learning to spread awareness and you're just doing fabulous. And I'm just so excited that we had you on today. And I can't thank you enough. Tina, do you have anything to add?
It sounds like even though you were dragged into it a little kicking and screaming of being more active with the Lupus Foundation, that actually you were guided there as you're finding your purpose in all of this. Is that how you feel?
Yeah, that's how I feel.
Yeah. And I will have to say, you didn't tell us no. So we feel pretty special because
yes, I'm doing better as I see opportunities. I'm doing better with saying, hey,
yeah,
let me take these initial steps and see who else I could impact, because I know you ladies have a great audience and you are making a difference for me, as I've seen through following you on Instagram. You know, there's days and I'm like, and then, you know, a post to come by from you all, and I'm like, yeah, I can. So when I saw you all post that, I said, I think I'm supposed to. So I prayed, and Lord said yes. So
yes,
I'm beginning to change those no's to yes.
Great.
Well, I thank you ladies for even providing me with the opportunities. I'm glad you all started your podcast and are allowing people like myself to share our stories. And you have a new best friend now.
There you go.
Oh my gosh, what a wonderful personality. But I didn't want to get it. I had to bite my tongue because I didn't want to take away from her sharing her story. But I can't believe in this day and age, in 2020, she was dealing with doctors that were putting her lady bits, so to speak, more important than her health.
Right. Right.
You know, that's crazy that she was getting that pushback of them trying to make her feel like she was less of a woman because
like why would you want to not have implants? Well, you know, I've heard instances of people getting sick with implants, and you know, who cares what she wants to do with her body? And it should, especially for a man, I mean, it's either way, but especially for a man to say, well, you know, I don't understand why you wouldn't want this or that. It's like, you know what, I'm a woman because, you know, not because of that. And it also hit me a little bit when she was talking about receiving love or receiving help, because I connected with that a little bit because I remember a time when I was deep in depression. I don't want to say newly diagnosed, but within maybe a year or so. And my husband, Ed, was with me. And he kept saying, I'm doing all these things for her, and she's just pushing me away and pushing me away. And he's like, I'm done. Yeah, I'm about done trying. And it finally came to me, and I said, I can't accept that right now. Like, I've got so much going on in my mind and with my body. Like, he was like, I'm trying to give her love. I'm trying to give her love. I can't accept that right now. Like, that's too much to even deal with everything else. And I still to this day struggle with, I can do it on my own. Yeah. I don't want to ask for help. And that gets me in trouble, because then there's times where I really want to ask for help and I don't. And then it ends up, causing me more fatigue or anything like that. But it just breaks my heart to see, somebody who obviously is such a giver and loves people and helps people be afraid to be the receiver of that.
Right. And I think those of us that are the givers, it's double-sided, and like, just from my observation with the things that I love to help people. I will be the first one. If you need help, I'm there. I'm a give, trying to take care of people. And I do also have trouble asking for help, but also it's when you're the giver and you are in the situation of needing support or could use support, and those people don't step up to help, then it's like, okay, well, what's the point of, it's hard to not let the fact that people aren't stepping up and making those offers when you're the one that gives for everything. To keep in that mindset, to not let it change of who you are. Why am I such a giving person when, I just went through all of this stuff and not a single person was there for me type. So it's kind of double-edged sword, so to speak, with not being, it's almost like you don't want to be disappointed, so you don't set your expectations. And if you just say, no, I'm fine, then because it's easier to just rely on yourself than hope that somebody else is going to help.
Mm-hmm. And I think that people who are givers, I recently dealt with this. When you're a giver and you go above and beyond, and then when you need help, you're seeing what you feel like is the bare minimum, but some people aren't built that way. And so, like, when one of my kids are sick, I am at their door, checking on them all the time, going to the store, getting whatever they need and all of that. Well, my husband, he's a man, he doesn't work that way. He waits for me to say, I need you to do this, this, and this. And he will do it gladly, no problems. But some people just aren't built that way. And I think we tend to get let down because it's not that they don't want to help, but they don't have the same personality as we do of automatically doing things for people without being asked, if that makes sense.
I saw a meme a couple times that popped up on Facebook, and I can't remember the exact quote, but it's something along the lines of, my downfall is expecting other people to be like me, or something like that. My disappointments, maybe it's like my disappointment comes from expecting other people to think like I do.
Yep, I agree. But
it's a tough one.
Yeah. And I think we walk into these interviews knowing the basics, stalking their Instagram profile, things like that. But it's so much nicer just to have a conversation and really get to know these people. And I really enjoyed talking with her today. And we will definitely be sharing the walks as they come up over the next month or so. And definitely, if you have lupus and you're in that area, we hope that you would go. If you have lupus or if you want to donate, we'll have those links as well.
Thank you all again, our loyal listeners, for tuning in. Or if you're our first-time listener, welcome. Join us on Tuesday, where we will talk about the public perception of those that are dealing with chronic illness, invisible illness, and the like. And then the following Thursday is actually, can you believe we are going to be wrapping up our first season? And it's just, I can't believe that by the time we're done, we'll have done 30. We started this with just thinking that it was going to be a little once a week. Yeah, hopefully we'll stick to it type thing. And hopefully we'll get people that want to listen to us. And now we're going to be wrapping up 30 episodes and planning our second season. While we take a small little break to figure that out. So that's just unbelievable.
Yes, I'm so excited. And I've been talking about all of the interviews we've had on the podcast. I was talking to my physical therapist yesterday, and I had a doctor's appointment, and I told my doctor, I said, and he wrote down the episode, and I said, don't listen to the first couple, because we were just kind of getting into the swing of things. Like, take a look at some of them that we've done recently, but it's really exciting.
Yeah, I do that as well. I was talking to my physical therapist one time about it, and the physical therapist assistant jotted it down. So I don't know if she's listening, if she's tuned in or not. Tune in and see if you were the lucky winner for our hoodie, which will be announced on next Thursday's episode. Everybody have a wonderful, wonderful weekend. I am going to be heading up to our camper this weekend and up in the Finger Lakes, and hopefully get some time out on the boat and enjoying life. So
I will be heading to the recliner this weekend, and maybe I'll make it to the couch. No, I'm just kidding. Maybe. I'm doing nothing this weekend.
Don't know what that actually looks like anymore.
Yeah.
I'm noticing that all of a sudden I'm like, my weekends are always super duper, like there's always something going on, but I try to keep my weeks a little calmer in those situations. So okay, so we will see you all on Tuesday, where we talk about all things perception with chronic illness. Thank you so much, and we will chat with you later.